Welcome to Your Family's Health, the program that focuses on healthcare issues with unique and different modalities for taking charge of your health today. Experts talk weekly with our continuing roster of guests from around the country and right here in Nassau County to keep you up to date on the latest health issues and trends. Take care of your mind, body, and soul. Spend the next half hour with the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and get on the journey to better health.
Hello and welcome to Your Family's Health. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College. More and more people have successfully quit addiction to smoking, whether it's cigarettes, cigars, or even vaping. Today, we're going to hear from two successful quitters who are loud and proud about it, hoping to inspire others to do the same. My guests today are former smokers Marielle Fisk and Betty Edwards, who are both local to us at Nassau Community College, living in nearby New York City. So Marielle and Betty, welcome to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us about your first experience smoking. When did you begin smoking? Please share with us one by one. So Marielle, you start.
So the first time I smoked a cigarette, I was 15 years old. I was with friends at a party. And no one in my immediate family ever smoked. I wasn't around cigarette smoking. And I had one. Unfortunately, I liked it, and a lot of people in my social circle were smoking. And so I think I started out kind of wanting to be cool, like a lot of adolescents, and ended up with a pack-a-day smoking habit by the time I was about
19. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, how about you, Betty? Tell us your experience.
I started smoking in the basement of my house with my sister, and we were just curious teenagers, and we wanted to see what it was like to smoke a cigarette. And we actually kept smoking after that. And I'm proud to say we both quit. She quit probably a year and a half, about a year before me. So I was happy that, I was able to quit from that point on.
So in both situations, ladies, it was a social thing that really brought you to the habit of smoking. Would you say that?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say that.
Would you say that also, Marielle?
Yep, definitely.
So it is said that becoming tobacco free is one of the most challenging things in life to accomplish. Why do you think it's so hard for people to quit? We'll ask you, Betty, this time first.
Well, I think it's hard to quit because smoking becomes like a crutch, and you depend on, I think the nicotine really makes you addicted to it. And so that makes it really hard. So you constantly want to smoke a cigarette. And I did a lot of chain smoking, but I really didn't smoke a lot of the cigarette. I would probably smoke half a cigarette and put them out. But I think the most part, it's the nicotine in the tobacco that makes it so hard. And then you kind of think about quitting, but then you just don't do it yet. Mm-hmm, so I think that's the hardest part for me.
How about you, Marielle?
Yeah, I think that there remains a social aspect to smoking. You mentioned that both of us started smoking socially. I think you continue to smoke to an extent because people around you are smoking. But then also one thing that I think about with, cigarette addiction, there are a few habits, if you think about it, that if you smoke a pack a day, you're doing that 20 times a day. There's so much power in habit and repetition, and breaking the habit of doing something that you do 20 times a day. It's just that's a high number of repetitions. So it does become just really ingrained in a lot of other activities. You associate it with driving, you associate it with having coffee, you associate it with going out, having drinks with friends. So it just, it's just that the power of habit can work for you or work against you in the case of smoking.
You mentioned something very interesting, Marielle, when you talked about the power of the habit. So is it the holding of the cigarette? Is it the taste, the smell? What is it that really evokes this necessity for a cigarette? Is it just physiologic, or is it also behavioral in your view?
I think you hit the nail on the head, interestingly, about the holding it in your hand. I think there's really something to that. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of fidgety. I think a lot of smokers kind of tend to be, and there is something to the lighting of it and the kind of fiddling with your lighter and the fact that you're holding in your hand, it is kind of behavioral too. Yeah.
So when it comes down to replacing that behavior, is there anything that you can think of, though, that you try to mimic that, that behavior of holding the cigarette, putting it into your mouth, that feeling of the smoke? Is there anything that you could replace it with that you tried to use to quit?
I replaced it with food.
Food. Oh,
yes.
Okay. So it was the food. It was the actual, so that gratification of food.
Just wanting to replace it with either eating junk food or I did a lot of junk food. So I gained a bunch of weight that I didn't want to gain. Just in the beginning, I think the first 3 to 6 months, I was doing that. And then it sort of dwindled away where I really didn't depend on it anymore. So I think it's that motion of having something to put in your mouth to supplement the cigarette.
Yeah. How about you, Marielle? Did you have that similar experience?
I didn't kind of switch over to eating. I didn't know that's really, really common. For me, I did more gum. Yeah, gum and candy. So I guess that's still eating. But yeah definitely. You kind of want to, I think that comes back to us maybe being like fidgety type people, but there's something to like that. You want something external.
To satiate that. Yeah.
I think it's really powerful to have something, whether it's like a lozenge or, nicotine gum or whatever it is that's not a cigarette.
So you both work through New York State Smokers Quitline to get additional support for becoming tobacco free. Did you both work to that? Tell us about your experience working with them and what they are all about.
I utilized them just to have someone listen to my cries about quitting smoking. And they were very super supportive. They offered to give me more patches and more. They have these candies. I call them candies, but they help remove those cravings. And they're very strong, but they really work for me. And I used them for quite some time to help me with that motion of wanting to actually smoke. So I was eating them. And the support that I got was really tremendous to even just have someone listen to you, go through the emotions of quitting smoking and what you're feeling and how you're feeling and what do you do next and how do you cope with continuing to not smoke. So that's the gist of what I got out of it.
Thank you for Betty. So Marielle, what did you find? How did you reach them? Is it by phone, a website? How do you reach this Quitline?
So I got put in touch with the Quitline via my physician. So I let my doctor know that I wanted to quit smoking. And what kind of led me to the Quitline was, I smoked heavily for over 2 decades. And I was starting to feel the physical consequences of long-term smoking. I was waking up and just with a terrible hacking cough. So I discussed, that I wanted to quit with my doctor, and thank goodness she put me in touch with the Quitline, and they have been so supportive. I don't think I would be, a non-smoker going on 1 year if it weren't for the Quitline. The support has been just fantastic. So I know that there's a big push to, work with more physicians and have them, what happened to me, I think was fantastic. And I hope it happens more often that doctors utilize the Quitline and make New Yorkers aware of it.
So it's 1-866-NY quits, QUITS. So when you call this hotline, am I getting someone on the phone that is a healthcare provider, or are they giving me psychological support? What exactly am I getting on the other end of the line?
In my experience, you get someone who's, very knowledgeable and can advise you of different options that they have available. For me, nicotine substitution supplies were really important in my quitting journey. And they're also, available to listen to you, kind of talk about your struggles and your triggers. And they can kind of give advice on tips that help other people. Oftentimes they might have a history of smoking themselves. So they're just, really knowledgeable, friendly, helpful guide.
That sounds really good. And how long did they stay with you on the phone? Was it a lengthy discussion? Are they willing to stay on the phone if you have real concerns? Betty?
They actually take time to listen to you speak and offer guidance and encouragement. So I found that to be like an excellent resource to helping me getting through quitting smoking.
So I understand free nicotine replacement therapy medication was a part of a care package shipped to you by New York State Smokers. So tell me about that. When you received the package, briefly tell me the medications you used that helped you.
So I would contact them by phone because I'd see an ad on TV and, they would show commercials about quitting smoking. So I pick up the phone, call them, they send me a package. It would be patches and either gum or, now they send, it's like these mints that help you quit smoking. And they send you enough of them, like for people who are starting out to quit, they have like a stronger patch depending on how much you smoke. So they will ask you, how much did you smoke? So they knew which patches to send you first, and you start off using those. And it kind of weans you off the patches at some point. I actually used the patches for quite some time and then just stopped using them, stopped the candy, and just went cold turkey from that point on.
Wow. Was your journey similar, Marielle?
Extremely similar. Yep. I started out with a higher level of patch and then, kind of weaned myself off of the nicotine slowly over time to where, likewise, I was, completely on my own at a certain point and have been sticking with it and tobacco free for, like I said, almost 10 months.
You're listening to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook Garard, and today you're learning about New York State Smokers Quitline and hearing from our guest former smokers Marielle Fisk and Betty Edwards about their journey to quit smoking. You telling me about the patches, the gum, and the candy. Using this medication to overcome the physical cravings is one factor in the quitting process. So what exactly the behavioral changes you made? We talked about the eating, but any other behavioral changes you made that was important factors for you really changing your life of smoking to non-smoking?
I think I just maintained the same behaviors that I've had normally, but being around friends that smoke, I had to let them know, don't smoke in my car, don't come in my house and smoke, keep it away from me. And that actually helped me stay on track and having that determination to not want to do it again. And for health reasons, I needed to actually quit smoking.
Because the secondhand smoke is also detrimental, right?
Yeah, and it's a trigger, I think. Even smelling it can turn you back into smoking. But I refuse to let people come to my house or smoke in my car because I knew the triggers for myself.
How about you, Marielle?
Probably the biggest thing is I started working out a lot more. And I was able to work out and to have the endurance that I needed to get through a workout much more easily. And I think that that became kind of a motivation for me to stay tobacco free. Just because before I quit smoking, it was sometimes difficult for me if I had to run up a set of stairs to catch a subway train. It's you're kind of gasping for air and made certain things kind of difficult. So once I realized that I started to physically feel so much better and integrating, working out at least 5 days a week into my routine, I found that helped keep me tobacco free.
How expensive is that habit of smoking? How much money is that you?
Yeah.
Did you ever calculate it to know, I spent X amount of dollars?
I have a smoking app that I use to help me keep track, and it would give me these awards.
Okay.
I actually believe that I would have to look it up, but I've saved over probably $5,000.
Wow. Now you're talking annual.
Annual.
Wow. How long did it take you really to say, I am done with this? I am definitely done.
I think from the day that I quit, that was my date for quitting, and I wasn't going to turn back because I've tried it before, but I wasn't as serious about it. But this time I was very serious about it.
How about you, Marielle? When did you know you was really, really done? I mean, no more cigarettes, no occasion for slip backs. You knew you were really done.
Yeah, I actually feel the same way. I had tried before, but in previous attempts to quit, I didn't really want to quit. I felt like I should, and people were kind of, wanting me to quit, but I wanted to keep smoking, at the heart of it. This time when I quit, I really just didn't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. I was just done with it. And I haven't had one since. So this time it really stuck.
Do you notice that now that you quit smoking, either one of you, that you're very sensitive to the smell, that you can't tolerate the smell anymore? Whereas when you were a smoker, you didn't even smell it. Or was it you was always sensitive to the smell?
I think when I was smoking, I couldn't really smell my own cigarette smoke unless I went out and came back in my house and really smelled like cigarettes. Now I actually don't like the smell.
Wow.
So I do understand when people who have quit prior to me don't want the cigarettes around them. So now I really understand that.
How about you, Marielle? Are you sensitive to the smell now?
Again, I feel very similarly. I think that you kind of go, they call it nose blind, in those Febreze commercials. You kind of just like block out the smell when you're constantly surrounded by it. So I didn't think that I smelled like cigarettes ever when I smoked. I'm sure I did. Now I can actually smell cigarettes, and they don't smell particularly great. Like when someone will, if you're at a bar with your friends, they step outside to have a cigarette and come back in. It's like whoosh, you can smell it, and it's not the best smell. Yeah. I will say it doesn't make me want a cigarette. That's for sure. I think I'm just more aware of kind of the smell of it, and it's just kind of yucky.
How has your family and friends reacted to you becoming a non-smoker? Did they support you through your whole journey, or how were they? My
daughter and friends are really happy. My daughter cried. She was an influencer on me quitting as well, because she cried so much and said, "Ma, I want you to live." And it really touched me, but it was still in the back of my mind before I quit. And that would contribute to me quitting. But she's really happy. My friends are happy. They know now, don't smoke around me.
I don't know about Marielle, whether your family, were they supportive at all?
Yeah, it was just a big wish of relief, because my family and friends have been wanting me to quit forever. And God bless them for kind of putting up with it as long as they did, I suppose. But they supported me, definitely in my journey to finally quitting. So yes, could not be more supportive.
So what do you both think about the menthol cigarettes or the vaping? And it's sort of like, it seems as though it's made attractive for young people, because the vaping comes in various flavors and it's so attractive. What are your thoughts about that? I don't know if you have children or you have young people in your lives. What is your gut feeling about that?
Yeah, I think vaping is just part of a trend that's going on with younger people, and they think it's really cool. And, I wouldn't have. My daughter's vaping right now, and I'm trying to get her to actually, because she was smoking these Black and Mild cigars. And I'm like, do you know how much cigarettes that is in one cigar?
Right.
So now she says she transitioned over to vaping, hoping that would help her quit the cigars. But then now you're vaping, you need to quit the vaping.
Right.
So I'm trying to encourage her. I just think that it's just a trend for younger people.
Yeah.
And it's something hip for them to do. And they like doing it because, everybody's doing it in their age group.
And it is addictive, right, Marielle? What do you think? It is addictive, vaping, and all of these other alternatives to what I would consider smoking. It is just as addictive. What are your thoughts, Marielle?
Well, coming back to the behavior aspect of cigarette smoking addiction, it's that same, notion of bringing your hand to your mouth that cigarette smokers find addictive. So, on that basis alone, definitely. But it's my understanding that oftentimes vapes have really, really high levels of nicotine compared to cigarettes, actually.
They do.
And I think one thing to think about when you think about vaping is that the jury's just still kind of out. But we don't know the long-term consequences of vaping because people haven't been doing it for that long. But I think it's a safe assumption, that it's not good for you, and we just kind of probably don't know the extent of the damage that people are doing to their bodies. And I do think that, young people are being, you could make an argument specifically targeted with, them literally tasting like candy. Yeah. And then I think also when you think about vaping, cigarettes have a defined beginning and an end. Mm-hmm. Now you might chain smoke, and after you finish one, you light up another one. But vapes, you can just continue to vape, kind of constantly, and you can do it inside. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's just easy It's easy to get addicted to it. It's easy to just to kind of do it way too much. And again, like we don't even fully understand what the potential health consequences could be.
And it is addicting because it does have nicotine in it as well. You're listening to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook Garard. And today you're learning about New York State Smokers Quitline and hearing from our guests, former smokers Marielle Fisk and Betty Edwards, about their journey to quit smoking. So, ladies, I've heard some people say that they're afraid to quit because it leads to weight gain. So we know how we are about being beauty conscious in our country. And so was this an issue for you? You say, well, I don't want to quit because I'll gain pounds. I really don't want to even attempt to gain weight. So is this a concern that you had?
Oh, absolutely. I gained like 40 pounds and it's really difficult to lose the weight. But I eat healthy, I would say 95% of the time. And I try to exercise, even though when I was smoking, I had 2 heart attacks within the past 10 years. So, I just feel that gaining weight is better than losing my life.
Yeah. Marianne, how about you? Was that a concern for you?
Yeah, I think that was one of the excuses that I gave to not quit smoking. It was never a good time, and that was definitely a fear of mine. I completely agree, though, with Betty that it is better to, gain a little bit of weight and still be around to play with your grandkids than the other alternatives. So sometimes, in life you have to weigh the pros and cons, and sometimes that does happen. It doesn't always happen, though. I didn't personally experience that, but some different people have different journeys with quitting, and that shouldn't prevent anyone from making probably the biggest change for the positive about their health if they can.
So when you were smoking, just a quick question, did you find that you were more susceptible to upper respiratory infections, or that you were susceptible to catching different infections in your lungs or any, right? Did you find that?
Yes, I do agree with that. I had pneumonia more often than not, and respiratory issues. And a lot of coughing. So now that I quit, I don't experience that anymore. I haven't been actually sick in 3 years.
That's awesome. How about you, Marielle? Do you notice your difference in your lungs?
Again, like my endurance is just better.
Yeah.
My lung capacity, but I used to like clockwork get bronchitis at least once a year. Just like a hacking cough and difficulty breathing. I also had a really, really bad time with COVID when I came down with it. I almost died, and I'm certain that my smoking being a pre-existing condition was the reason why. Otherwise, being young and healthy, I shouldn't have been so sick with it. So my health has definitely improved from quitting.
So with the vaping being such a trend now, the Quitline, do you think that they're seeing more of an influx of calls coming from the younger population than the older population because it's now trendy to vape?
I'm not sure because, being the younger generation, they feel they're having a good time with vaping right now. So they're not going to, unless they experience health issues. I think the older generation are the ones that are like, okay, I need to quit, and let me call the helpline. I don't think the younger people are ready.
It's all about perception, right? When a person is addicted to smoking, when you ladies were in the crux of the addiction to smoking, did you actually think that you were addicted, or did you or you just say, this is something that I can quit any day? What was your mindset?
I knew that I was addicted for probably 20 years. When you run out of cigarettes and, in the dead of winter, you're throwing on a parka to go to the bodega around the corner because you need to have a cigarette. It becomes pretty clear to you. So I knew that I was addicted, but it's just kind of part of my lifestyle, I guess, for a long time. I knew I couldn't just walk away from them, but I also didn't want to. So I think it was really, again, like when I started feeling physical consequences, and getting older and just kind of realizing that this might actually kill me, that's when things become real, and the addiction to them notwithstanding, like, you've got to make a change.
Yeah, that's important to come to that realization is so important. I just want to add here that this Quitline can be reached at New York, NY, smokefree.com. So that's NYSMOKEFREE.com. And by texting quit now to 333-888. So that is very important going forward. So many people, I think, are going to reach out because they need help with this. This is something that you need that support that you tell me about. So finally, you're here today because you're a part of this year's group of success stories from New York State Smokers Quitline. What does it feel like to be an advocate and to share your story with others?
I think it feels really good, and I'm really proud of myself. And that Smoke Free app really gives encouragement too, because it keeps track of different things that you go through as a non-smoker, like what percentage does it take for decreased risk of lung cancer or decreased risk of heart attack? How much money? I think I saved $5,696 to date. And it just gives me encouragement. It gives you awards, and you can share it with your friends. I do. When I made my year last month, I shared it with my friends, and they were all happy for me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's why I feel the way that I feel about quitting smoking has really helped me health-wise. Now I feel that hopefully I don't have another heart attack, because 2 of them was could have been detrimental for me. So that's how I feel about quitting smoking.
So how about Marielle? What does it feel like for you to be an advocate?
I feel great about it. If I can help one person to quit smoking, that just would mean the world to me. It's a really, really difficult thing to do. Any, tips or tricks that I can share, if I can be an example of the fact that it is possible to quit, after smoking for, more than 20 years, you can do it. Then that is something that I feel really proud of.
Well, congratulations to the both of you, Marielle and Betty. Thank you for being here, former smokers, to tell us about your personal journey. Congratulations on successfully quitting smoking, and thank you for telling us all about the New York State Smokers Quitline.
Thank you.
So it's 1-866-NY QUITS, QUITS. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College, and we want to thank you for listening to this week's edition of Your Family's Health.
We'd like to get your feedback on your family's health. Send your comments by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu. Podcasts of today's show are available on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This program was produced at the studios of Nassau Community College in cooperation with the nursing department. Join us next week for another edition of Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.